everybody, and welcome back. Tom Leyden with you as we continue our conversations with the candidates. We're talking to the two candidates on the ballot on April 25th for the Select Board. And I'm in the kitchen right now of Joe Previtera. It's nice to see you. Thank you very much for having me over here this morning.
Tom, thank you so much for the opportunity.
It's a great get-to-know-you opportunity for me and for so many people who are listening who may not know a lot about you. And I know you've been around for a while, but I just want to give you this opportunity to let people know what you're all about, a little bit about your background.
Sure. So I was raised in Westwood, went on to the Westwood Fire Department in 72, served there for 11 years as a firefighter EMT, married my wife in 1980. We have two boys, Joe and Tom, and we love Westwood. We think the world of Westwood. I enjoyed the firefighter EMT duties so much, I ended up leaving the fire department after 11 years, and I recently retired as the director of respiratory care at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. So I went through one COVID surge, and that was enough for me. I've always enjoyed taking care of the sick and injured, and think it's a lot of fun. As far as what I've done for the town, I've served on numerous committees. I was chairperson of the Westwood Conservation Commission for 17 years. I was there for 18 years. I also served on the Select Board appointed committee called Open to preserve open space in Westwood. I served on the University F Steering Committee, and I won't bore you with all the others, but there were lots of other committees that I've been on. I also took a little different tack than other folks in the sense that I've sponsored articles for town meeting for things. Back in 1996, 97, the town, the youth sports were just exploding in town, and they didn't have enough fields. So they wanted to put some fields in some woods that I used to hike and camp in, and I wasn't crazy about that. And the select board said, well, Joe, if you can find some place for fields, we'll support you. So if you go up to the middle school now, you'll see two full-size 11-on-11 soccer fields there. And we did that when they were doing their addition onto the middle school. So then we got 59 cents on the dollar. So that was the beginning of my field thing. Then it came down to, I think 2005, the Downey School was getting an addition. And because of my experience on the Concom, I got to work with the architect over the Downey and discovered that, you know, we can squeeze in 2 6-on-6 soccer fields over here. So we squeezed some fields in over there. I also put together a petition when they were Mass Highway was redoing Washington Street. They eliminated a crosswalk between Dean Street and Dean Ave, which happened to serve a couple MBTA bus stops and school bus stops, and they weren't keen on replacing it. So I put a petition together. We got the neighbors together. We gave it to the select board, about 150 people, and we finally got that thing replaced, that crosswalk replaced. So I've been doing those sorts of things as well as an individual. And I was talking to someone yesterday about the lacrosse program in town. I got a call one morning, and the select board member, Joe, we got to find a field for lacrosse. It's taken off like gangbusters. You can't believe how fast it's going. He said, well, put your fields where the farmers plant their corn. He said, what do you mean? I go down to Westwood Lodge. Charlie Bean Farm, used to plant his corn there, and talk to them. And he did. And by the end of the week, we had a $1 lease agreement to put up a lacrosse field over by Westwood Lodge. That's how we got that.
What's your understanding of the Select Board, how it works, your opportunity to maybe assess how things have gone over the last few years, and what has motivated you to want to become a member?
The Select Board sets the tone for a lot of things in Westwood. They do the hiring for the police chief, the fire chief, and other key personnel in town, and they set the tone by doing that. They also appoint a phenomenal number of people to committees, which I think is great that people volunteer for those committees and different things. So there's a lot of work along those lines. They also get involved with the budgetary process and negotiations and those things as well.
Give me a little bit on your professional background at Beth
Sure.
Israel, most notably.
Yeah.
And how anything that you've experienced, most notably over the last maybe 5-10 years, which has been, I can't imagine how stressful and anxious your life has been having to go through the pandemic. But how can some of the things that you've learned at this stage of your life help you if you were to win a seat on the select board?
Well, my budget was $6.5 million at Beth Israel. My operation, not my capital, my operating budget, and I had about 66 therapists working for me. So I'm pretty handy with budgets and drilling down on line items and economizing where I can. I got an awful lot of human resource experience. I've interviewed probably close to 150 respiratory therapists. I think those are all skills that will help me on the select board. But more importantly, Tom, is I served in the public sector for 11 years. And you get to know and you get to feel and you get an idea how things operate in that public sector. But I also operate in the private sector for 35 years. And there are pluses and minuses to both. And I can bring that to the table, which hasn't been the case.
When you're part of a panel, I've asked this of all the people who I've spoken to, you are a voice and you truly are a representative. And sometimes you're put in a position where maybe you have to at least bring a perspective that you may not necessarily 100% agree with, but you have to be a good listener. So can you take me through some of your skills that makes you a good listener and a good member of a board of three?
I learned that you learn when you listen, and you don't always have to talk. And that was probably one of the most valuable lessons that I learned in being a director of a department, is to sit down with people, to listen to what they have to say, and evaluate the process that they're explaining to you. So I think I'm a pretty good listener.
You've been paying attention to what's going on around town. Were you to win a seat on this board, what do you think would be the first few things that the board has to really tackle over the course of the next 3-4 months?
That's one of the reasons I'm running, is because we have some huge capital projects coming down the line. The low-hanging fruit is finishing the employee contracts with the police and the fire and getting that done. That's the low-hanging fruit. But the Sheehan School is in tough shape. The fire station's in tough shape. And because of my experience in the emergency room and as a firefighter in town here, I'm very pro-sidewalk. And I'd love to see a sidewalk, or at least let's get started on a sidewalk on Gay Street. I can't tell you how strongly I believe in pedestrian safety. And to tie that to sports, so I used to ride my bike back and forth to BI, and I'd come home in the afternoon, and around 3:45 I'd turn on to Gay Street. I see all the cross-country kids out running. Now, they think they're immortal. They're running down the middle of the street. Tom, I didn't want to ride my bike down that street. We have to get a sidewalk on Gay Street.
What does it take to get that done?
I'm not sure entirely. I think we need to build a consensus, and I'm not convinced, and this is just my opinion, okay, I'm not sure we have to do it all in one fell swoop. We have so many capital projects coming down the line, but I think we can do it in small steps. I know it's going to cost more. I've heard that argument, but I'm going to be pro-pedestrian safety all the way.
You've been here such a long time. I like picking the brain
Sure.
of somebody who has experienced a very different Westwood from what existed when you first got here. So how have you seen the town evolve and change, and where might you like to see it go over the course of the next 5-10 years?
My wife grew up on Mission Hill, and she still can't believe that I used to ride horses around Westwood. That's how far back I go. Evolving, I think, we really have to support fair housing. I mean, the housing crisis is genuine, and we also have to make sure we support our elderly residents and not tax them out of this town. So I see the town evolving towards more affordable housing and more work towards the seniors, helping the seniors. And Lena, the director up at the Council on Aging, is wonderful. I have so much respect for her, but I think there are other opportunities there that we can do and make things better.
How do people learn more about you between now and April 25th? If they want to go online and visit a website or follow a Facebook page, how can they find you?
I have a Facebook page. It's Vote Joe for Select Board, and that's where I'm doing most of my announcements on that.
What do you think about running? Just the campaign process.
I have loved it. I have had so much fun meeting people and talking to them, because that's really what it's all about. I've come home with half a loaf of Irish bread. I've sat down, had some nice hot cookies in one person's house. Westwood's a great town. There are a lot of really, really nice, bright, considerate people out there, and I love meeting them.
Well, it's been nice to meet you. I appreciate a couple of minutes, and hopefully this has been useful to those of you who have been listening. That's Joe Previtera. He's one of the two candidates running for the open seat on the select board here at Westwood. Of course, you're going to vote on April 25th, but you can go to the website, facebook.com, Vote Joe for SB, correct?
Yes.
Vote Joe for SB. You can find out more there, and I certainly appreciate your time and wish you the best of luck. That is the very latest as our conversation with the candidates continues. This is Tom Leyden, and thank you so much for listening to the Westwood Living Podcast.